Hey, welcome to this lesson. In this video tutorial, we're really not going over anything new. We're just going to be completing this task together, and hopefully you learn a few things along the way. It's really just a review lesson for you. Okay? So just to tell you what we've got on the screen so far, all we right now have is we have this text size and this text right here, and what this is doing is telling us where the X position of our mouse is. Okay? We'll just use that today to know where our X position is. It's anywhere from 0 to 400, right? So that's just to help us out. Now we have three tasks in front of us today. The first one is if mouse X is greater than 0 but less than 1.5, we want to change the color of this first ellipse to red. Easy enough, but there are some challenges there. For number 2, if mouse X is greater than 150 but less than 130, we want to change the stroke weight of this rectangle to 10. And just this rectangle, that's where it gets a little bit more complicated, right? We don't want everything to have its stroke weight changed, just that rectangle. And then finally, if mouse X is greater than 300 and less than 400, we want to change the diameter of the third ellipse to 100 and change the color to blue. So that's it. That's the whole goal today. Let's talk about each one of these and go through them. There are some hidden challenges here. So the first one says if mouse X is greater than 0 but less than 150, we want to change the color of the first ellipse to red. Now, remember, if you see the word change, you should probably think, I probably need a variable for something. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a color variable. All right, so we're going to go to the top, and we're going to create a variable to hold some color in. So we're going to say let first circle color. Okay, we just created right there. And then at the top of our code in the draw function, this is where things are a little bit different. This is where we're going to initialize a value. Okay, so we're going to say first circle color is equal to color, and then we're going to make it equal to 255. Now, just to be clear about what's going on here, first circle color is the name of our variable, and inside of it, we're just going to hold a color, right? This could be up to 3 values, but the color that we're putting in is white. All right, that's it. So our first circle color variable has the color white saved in it. So if I did this, fill, and I put in first circle color, what should happen is nothing. We should just have a white circle. But imagine I change this to 0, right? Now I get a black circle, right? Because right here the color is black, so now our fill is black. But I want this to be white, so let's start with that. All right, so our first circle color is a variable that holds the color white in it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create an if statement that changes this variable if the statement is true. So we're going to say if mouse X is greater than 0, and mouse X is less than 150. Okay, so we did if, parentheses, what we want to be true, right? Both these conditions, mouse X is greater than 0 and mouse X is less than 150. We're going to do something. Now, what we're going to do, we put in these curly braces. A lot of people keep forgetting those. So let's be clear, you have to put the curly braces. And what we're going to put in here is we're going to say we want the first circle color. We're going to change this variable to red. So now it's going to hold the color red, 25500. So keep in mind what it's doing is if mouse X is greater than 0 and less than 150, what happens is that the color turns to red. And so this variable will therefore be red. So let's be clear. Let's try it. Okay, look at that. So when my X is greater than 0, right? It's red, but when it gets down to 150, you see it turns back white. Now the problem is all 3 of these shapes are turning red, and I only really want the first one to turn red. That's simple to fix. Just remember, in P5, every single shape needs its own fill. So we're going to say fill 255, so that means now this rectangle will be white, because remember, if this fill up here is turning it red, it turns everything beneath it red. So this rectangle needs its own fill of white, and this ellipse needs its own fill. So every shape should have its own color attached to it. So now you'll see that only one of them changes. Okay? So anywhere between 0 and 150, that turns red. So that's the first one. Take a look at this code. Make sure you understand every single line of it before moving on, right? We created a variable, first circle color. In that, we initialized a value. Remember, you always have to start your variable with a value. We did this in the draw function, and we said it equals to color 255. This is just a way of storing colors. Okay, so we said we want a color 255 that's white. After that, we create an if statement. If mouse x is greater than 0 and mouse x is less than 150, we're going to change this variable to the color of red, and then we're filling our ellipse with whatever first circle color is. Okay, so that's the first thing. Let's move on to our next one. The next challenge says, if mouse x is greater than 150 and less than 300, change the stroke weight of the rectangle to 10. Well, this one's a little bit easier because right now nothing has a stroke weight. So we could just say this. If mouse x is greater than 150 and mouse x is less than 300, then in curly braces, this is what we're going to do. We're going to change the stroke weight to 10. So notice that this will work, right? See how it changes? Oh, okay. So it is working. But the problem is two things. One, it stays at 10. It never goes back. And two, what's it called? All three of them get the stroke weight. Well, there's an easy fix for this one too. Just like we did before, what we could do is give every single shape its own stroke weight. And I know this might be like, oh my God, I have to do that for all three shapes. Yeah, give each shape its own stroke weight to start off with. So watch, for each one, I'm going to say, this one's going to have a stroke weight of 1. So that will now set my first one to 1. Well, the second one I want to change, so I can keep it just the way I'm doing it. And for the third one, let's give it its own stroke weight of 1. Now those won't change because they're set hard like this, right? They can't be changed because the stroke weight right on top of our other shapes is 1. So now watch, this turns red when my x is greater than 150. Notice how that one, that's the only one that changes now because the other two are the ones that we set. So if you give each shape its own stroke weight, then they won't change either. And then for the last one, it said that mouse x is greater than 300 and less than 400. Change the diameter of the third ellipse to 100 and the color to blue. That I'll leave for you. So here's what we're going to do. We're once again going to say if mouse x is greater than 300 and mouse x is less than 400, well then what do we want to happen? And the question here is, how do we change the diameter of this ellipse? Well, remember, when you hear the keyword change, you'd say, I need a variable. So this ellipse can't change size because the number is 50. It's not a variable, it'll always be 50. What if we make a variable? We'll say let diameter. Then, just like how we initialized our color at the top in the draw function, we're going to initialize our diameter in the draw function to 50. And then we're going to replace it here with diameter. I know I called that d before, but it should be diameter. That's the name of our variable. So now nothing should change, right? It still has a diameter of 50. Well, now that it's a variable, we could change it in this if statement. We could say diameter now equals 100. So now let's check this out. Let's see if this works. 1, turns red. 2, stroke gets bigger. 3, gets bigger. And notice how it goes back down. And the reason it goes back down is because we put diameter as 50 in our draw function. So that means it's always setting the diameter back to 50. But the only time it doesn't is if mouse x is greater than 300 and mouse x is less than 400. In that case, it sets the diameter to 100. Okay, so hopefully this video was informative and helps you with your taking your quiz again. I think it should be much easier this time around. Also, what you should do on your own is try to make the color of this ellipse blue. What I'm going to tell you, though, to start off everything, is that you're going to have to make a new variable called third circle color, or whatever you want to name it. You're going to have to start, now let's just take it all the way. Well, actually, no. You could make you want to set the third circle color to white again. And then once again, you want to change it over here. Third, I guess I'll just do it, whatever. Circle color. And then what we could do is change this variable to color 0, 0, 255. That's blue. All right, so now look at that. That is great. So notice if I want to have 2 different color changes, which I do, I need 2 different variables. All right, that's it for this video. Best of luck, and that is all. Longest video to date. And don't forget to adopt a cat and kiss your mom. Bye.